What if the digital identity you use for security is actually the foundation for total control? Global systems are rapidly consolidating, linking your ability to buy or sell to a central biometric node. We are no longer just talking about technology, we are watching the prophetic clock strike midnight for humanity. The world is changing quietly. Not with armies crossing borders. Not with kings standing on palace balconies. But through screens, databases, digital wallets, and biometric scanners. Across the globe, nations are building a new kind of infrastructure, one that connects identity, finance, movement, communication, and access into unified digital systems. What once existed only in science fiction is now becoming ordinary life. In Europe, the European Union is preparing to roll out the European Digital Identity Wallet, a system designed to allow citizens to verify identity, access services, store documents, and interact across all EU member states through a single digital framework. Officials describe it as secure, efficient, and privacy-focused, with deployment expected across member states by the end of 2026. In India, Aadhaar, the largest biometric identity system in human history, continues expanding deeper into daily life. Recent updates include facial authentication, QR-based verification, and integration into digital wallet systems like Google Wallet. In China, the digital yuan and tightly integrated state-linked identification systems continue raising global concerns over financial surveillance and centralized oversight. Governments around the world increasingly speak about interoperability, digital governance, and secure online verification. Most people see these developments as progress. And in many ways, they are. Digital IDs can reduce fraud. They can simplify travel. They can help citizens access healthcare, banking, and public services more efficiently. Technology itself is not evil. The Bible never condemns innovation. But Scripture repeatedly warns about something else entirely, the concentration of power in systems that eventually demand allegiance above obedience to God. Nearly 2,000 years ago, the Apostle John was exiled on the island of Patmos when he received the visions recorded in the book of Revelation. At the time, Rome ruled much of the known world, yet John described something even greater, a future global system unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Revelation 13:7 says, "Authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation." John saw a system with worldwide reach. And then Revelation gives one of its most discussed warnings. And that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark, Revelation 13:17. For centuries, people struggled to understand how such total economic control could ever exist. How could buying and selling be monitored globally? How could participation in society become conditional? But today, for the first time in history, humanity possesses the technological capability to make it possible. Digital identity systems are increasingly becoming gateways into modern life. Your ID may determine access to banking, healthcare, travel, employment, communication platforms, government services, digital payments. And when digital identity becomes connected with digital currency, centralized databases, and biometric authentication, a society emerges where participation itself can become conditional. This is why many believers look at these developments carefully, not because digital ID is automatically the mark of the beast, but because the world is building the kind of infrastructure Revelation described long ago. The discussion is no longer theoretical. The European Digital Identity Framework specifically aims to unify identity verification across nations. India's Aadhaar system now supports selective data sharing, facial authentication, and integration into mobile wallets used in daily commerce. Meanwhile, debates are growing online, even among Christians, about whether digital identity systems could eventually become connected to prophetic control mechanisms. Reddit discussions and online forums reflect growing concern over surveillance, digital access restrictions, and centralized oversight. Even researchers studying Europe's digital identity frameworks have raised questions about centralization, interoperability, and monitoring capabilities within future digital ecosystems. But Revelation's warning goes deeper than technology. The central issue is worship. The mark in Revelation is not merely a tool for commerce. It represents allegiance to a kingdom opposed to God. Revelation 14 repeatedly connects the mark with worship of the beast and submission to his authority. Technology may become the mechanism, but the true battle is spiritual. That is why believers must avoid extremes. One extreme is fear, declaring every technological advancement to be the immediate fulfillment of prophecy. The other extreme is blindness, pretending the world is not moving toward unprecedented centralized control. Scripture calls believers to discernment. Jesus himself said in Luke 21:28, "When these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near." What makes this generation different is not merely that technology exists, but that the exact type of system Revelation described is now technically imaginable. A world where identity is digital, money is digital, access is conditional, transactions are monitored, and global systems communicate with one another in real time. For most of history, this sounded impossible. Today, it sounds increasingly practical. And perhaps that is why the book of Revelation feels more real to many people now than ever before. Not because prophecy has fully arrived, but because humanity is rapidly constructing the architecture that could support it. Still, the book of Revelation does not end with the triumph of human systems. It ends with the return of Christ. The kingdoms of this world rise and fall. Technologies advance. Systems evolve. But the sovereignty of God remains untouched. Revelation 14:12 says, "Here is the patience of the saints, here are those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus." The future may become increasingly digital, increasingly monitored, increasingly centralized. But the call of Scripture remains unchanged: stay awake, remain faithful, and never surrender your allegiance to the systems of this world above the authority of Christ.